So, when you think Amazon, what comes to mind? A huge, thick jungle, right? But what if I told you it's less of a jungle and more like a 50-million-year-old mystery, one that has our best scientists totally stumped? Let's dive in.
Okay, let's just jump right in with a question that sounds completely made up, like something from a fantasy movie. Ready? Can a forest walk?
Believe it or not, in the Amazon, that's not fantasy. It's a real thing. There are actually trees there that can slowly, and I mean slowly, move on their own roots. They literally inch their way across the forest floor over time. And folks, that's just the tip of the iceberg for today.
All right, so first up, let's try to think of this forest as a single living thing, a 50-million-year-old secret. I mean, this place is basically a living organism that was ancient way, way before humans were even a thing.
You've probably heard it called the lungs of the earth, right? Well, that's not just some catchy nickname. It is no exaggeration. This one forest pumps out a whopping 20% of all the oxygen on the planet. Think about that. It's not just a bunch of trees, it's our planet's life support.
And the density? Wow. It's almost impossible to wrap your head around. The treetops are so packed together that it can be pitch black on the forest floor, even in the middle of the day. Get this. When it rains, a single raindrop can take 10 whole minutes to make its way from the top of the canopy all the way down to the ground. That's just wild.
Okay, so we've talked density, now let's talk about sheer scale. This is a world of extremes. The Amazon isn't just big, it operates on a level of unimaginable scale and power that's just, well, it's hard for our brains to even compute. So, to really get the Amazon, you have to try and grapple with its size. We're talking 5.5 million square kilometers. That's a number so big it almost loses its meaning, you know? Let's try to put that in perspective. Imagine the country of Pakistan. Now imagine fitting more than 20 of them inside the Amazon. Yeah, it's really, truly a world of its own. And inside this massive world, you find things that just shouldn't exist, things that defy science. Like, for instance, the boiling river. No, I'm not kidding. A river where the water hits 110 degrees Celsius. That's hotter than boiling, hot enough to cook anything that falls in, instantly. And the craziest part? Scientists still don't really know why. The source of all that heat is a total mystery. The life here is just as extreme. You've got at least 3,000 different kinds of fish, 3,000 different kinds of fruit. But here's the number that really gets me. This one forest, this single place, is home to 40% of all animal, bird, and insect species on Earth. 40% in one spot. It's unbelievable. So it's not just about the plants and animals. The Amazon's mysteries go way deeper. They're historical. Buried under all that green, you've got echoes of the past, entire lost worlds, and ancient secrets just waiting. Way, way before European explorers ever showed up, we're talking about 2,500 years ago, there was this incredibly complex civilization living right there in the jungle. Archaeologists have found traces of what they're calling garden cities. Think about that. Organized cities with roads, with tall buildings, and then they just vanished. Gone. Leaving behind nothing but questions. And if that's not mysterious enough for you, what about the Amazon rings? Tucked away under the trees are more than 4,500 of these giant, perfectly circular patterns carved into the earth. Who built them? Why? Nobody knows. It's one of the jungle's biggest and oldest secrets.
All this talk of history brings up a pretty basic question you might have had yourself. Why do we even call it the Amazon?
Well, the story behind the name is pretty dramatic. The first European explorer to go deep into the jungle, a guy named Francisco de Orellana, got into a huge fight. His expedition was attacked by this tribe of incredibly fierce warriors. But here's the twist. He was shocked when he realized they were all women. These tough, formidable fighters. It immediately made him think of the Amazons from Greek myths, you know, that tribe of warrior women. So he named the river and the forest after them. And the name just stuck. And speaking of those warrior women, that's a perfect way to talk about who else lives in the jungle today. We're talking about both the human guardians and, well, the monsters of the deep jungle. Deep, deep in the Amazon, there are still about 400 distinct tribes living completely cut off from our world. I mean, many of them have never even seen a wheel. They are incredibly protective of their territory, and they have customs that can seem pretty shocking to us.
For instance, some tribes practice a ritual form of cannibalism. They consume parts of their own dead as a sacred rite to keep that person's spirit alive inside the community.
And these tribes share their world with some of the most terrifying creatures on the planet. You've got the Puraruku, a giant fish that breathes air and can grow up to 3 meters long. Some locals even call it a man-eater. Then there are spiders, so big they literally eat birds. And on the other end of the scale, tiny insects whose bite can kill a person in seconds. It's a tough neighborhood.
So, all of this, it brings us to our last and maybe our most important point. For everything we've talked about, all the things we've discovered, the Amazon is still the great unexplored. What we know is just a tiny little drop in the ocean compared to what we don't know.
Think about this. After all this time, with all our technology, we have only explored about 10% of the Amazon. 10%, that means 90% of it is still a complete mystery. It's literally an uncharted world right here on our own planet.
There's a famous saying among scientists who study this place. They say, we know more about the surface of Mars than we do about the depths of the Amazon. Isn't that incredible? We've sent rovers to other planets, but this giant part of our own world is still basically a blank spot on the map.
So you have to wonder, what's hiding in that other 90%? What other wonders, what other lost cities, what undiscovered animals are out there waiting? And that leaves us with the biggest question of all. Will we ever really know all of the Amazon's secrets? Or will it always be Earth's greatest mystery?